Podcast episode number 9, IBCM Consulting, 5 Steps to Nirvana.
Podcast episode number 9, IBCM Consulting, Certifying Scope and Entities by Cream Technology. Transition to Green Economy. After successful launching of my podcast series, 8 of them so far, I'm quite impressed with the response. Nearly 200,000 downloads from countries around the world, including China, by almost all top-notch companies such as Intel, Google, Microsoft, TCS, etc., etc. Cream Technology platform is established with a saying from my native language, Tamizh. Yaadum Oorey, yaavarum, kelir. Theethum, nanrum, pirar, thara. Meaning, any town in the world around is my town. Anyone, anywhere is my relative. Bad or good does not arise from a third party. Is all my own making. The podcast episodes have covered every bit of management science with everlasting benchmarks and metrics. Here I am, offering consulting to all, companies to nations alike. Today, CO2 emission stands in front of us. Commandeering transition to green economy. Tomorrow it could be unemployment or poverty. Cream Technology platform covers all 17 SDGs uniformly. In October 2020, I prepared 5 steps to Nirvana, detailing Gujarat State GSDP, $1.5 trillion 2024, a template for GDP-GNH combo. The figures for 2024 are valid even today and can be reached, but the 5 steps to Nirvana is crucial for success. Companies on the same basis shall prepare 2030 targets and connect to the state level or national level GDP-GNH targets vis-a-vis 2030, 2050, 2060, 2070 targets of decarbonization protocols. Nirvana is the state of the cessation of suffering at its causes. The society looks toward industry to initiate the process. The 5 steps are: Step 1, Cream Audit. Step 2, Cream Strategy Plan 2030. Step 3, Cream Implementation. Step 4, Cream Training. And Step 5, Cream Action Plan. Please be my guest.
Copyright, Jairam Raja. All rights reserved. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopy, recording, or any other except for brief quotations, not to exceed 250 words, without the prior permission of the author. Gujarat State, GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. A template for GDP-GNH combo. Corporate atomic structure. GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. CREAM Diagnostics. CREAM is an acronym for Corporate Governance, Risk Management, Earnings, Accounting Quality and Management Quality.
My book, Corporate citizenship and sustainability, measuring intangible, fiscal and ethical assets. I had already released about 4 video talk. This is the 5th one, which is GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. Gujarat State Domestic Product $1.5 trillion 2024. I had already included in the book, it is there in the book. I did do a bit of a blueprint for the same in Jan 2020. Couple of days back, the government officials reminded my colleague Bhavesh Patel what happened to the $1.5 trillion. They wanted one-page reports for $1.5 trillion to be sent to them as a P. I gave it to them a couple of days back immediately. So it is there with them. Now I am coming out with a video talk of GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024 in this video program. To recall the first video, the new global brand name is corporate citizen. The emphasis is on the citizen. That is what the corporate citizenship is all about. I have written in my book, in future, the IPRs may be owned by individuals, not by corporate. So this is going to be a significant factor. It's one of the major factors which I'd like to emphasize in this particular talk on GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. Number 2, a blueprint on $1 trillion Indian agri-economy is a very interesting one, because I had indicated in analyzing this from $450 billion to $1 trillion of Indian agricultural economy. One of the major points which I emphasize is that 13 million farmers to start with are going to be rated. Whereas in a company, whether it's a 500 or 500,000 workforce, every one will be rated. There is no separate corporate rating. It is the accumulation, the cumulative rating of each and every person employed are going to be the rating for the company. This is what I emphasized. I also mentioned, on a comparative note, a farmer is far better placed in undertaking the ethical responsibility than a corporate person, which I conveyed in the third one as to ABC rating, a Project Elite for education, learning, implementation, training, execution program. For ABC cream rating, ABC stood for auditing, banker and the specific company. These three would be yoked together to go forward in terms of optimized performance in every one of them. As on today, we are disparate elements are running around all over the world in terms of management. This is to contain them, bring it together, which I did indicate in the common denominator for World Economic Forum report that just came in September on ACM, that is Stakeholder Capitalism Metrics, is again elaborate analysis about where exactly 21 core metrics and 34 expanded metrics created by this report are sitting there at this point of time, how it has to be liberated. It is stuck in some place. You got to liberate that. That is the principle of matter. Matter is the one, energy is the one which is liberated matter. Otherwise, it would be in a container only. This one, JSDP, $1.5 trillion, I want to come out with 5 steps. One-page report, which I had indicated these 5 steps. 5 steps to Nirvana. We are talking of a state like Gujarat, which is nearly double the space of area of South Korea, which is nearly about 51 million people in South Korea, has about 60 to 70 million people in Gujarat. But in terms of your gross state domestic product, is approximately about $250 billion as against $1.5 trillion of South Korea as on today. So we got to catch up with within 2024 how that $215 billion could be tracked to $1.5 trillion. Bhavesh has been excellent. He made a very specific attack. He said if at all we are going to make it, and we can make it, and he has got the self-belief that we can make it, it will be only because of the people. The people are the energy force. If the people understand that spirituality aspect of what we can do, if that could be brought in, then yes, it is very simple to take it forward from $250 billion to $1.5 trillion. I told him this is exactly what the book is all about, is how the intangible, the return on intangible is what the primary factor of the book, the intangible being the pulsating energy of the people. So these 5 steps which I am giving would be useful. I'll try to explain then and there what exactly I mean by step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 steps to Nirvana.
Target GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024 CAGR 41.38%. Step 1. Cream Audit. Recast GSDP 2018 to 2021. See Annexure 1.
Is cream audit. Cream, as I mentioned earlier, corporate governance, risk management, earnings, accounting quality, and management quality. When I had gone through these statistics, 2012 to 2018 and 19, I want to mention about the Economic Survey of India. That is an annual presentation of the survey presented in the parliament a couple of days, a few days before the budget. Was presented this year in January 2020. They have tabulated the, like GSDP, various state domestic product had been accounted for, each and every state. And many of the states had the marking NA. NA means not applicable, is not available, which included Gujarat and as well as Maharashtra. When I compiled this information from the available information from the state of Gujarat in January 2020, the following info statistics which I had given was prepared in October 2019 on a quick estimate of March 2018. That itself was a quick estimate. You have a very clear 2 years gap. before actuals could be talked about. So when we compare the 2012 to 2018 as the possible actuals, then we project 2018 to 2024 to 1.5 trillion, and then only because of the number of years that happens becomes 41.38% as a CAGR from that level, not from 2020 level. So when we normally prepare this spreadsheet, column spreadsheet, we have actuals, we have estimate for the current year, then we have projected figure. Whereas in this case, after 2018 itself is a projected figure. It's not neither actuals nor estimate. We are in is a hiatus. We are in a no man's land where we don't know what exactly is happening around. If we achieve 1.5 trillion, if we allow this trend to go, as and when we achieve 1.5 trillion in 2024, we will come to know of that achievement in 2026, not before that. This must change. First and foremost, we got to update on a current level. If the first quarter, if we have the quarter, we are in the third quarter of the 2021 financial year for India. In the third quarter, we got to have at least the second quarter information on actual basis. I don't know why they are not able to do that, because that is, if you look through the individual sector, each sector is preparing. No farmer is going to wait for this 2 years later some statistics information coming. When he knows pretty well today's produce that he has produced, he is going to sell it tomorrow. He has all the information. So is the case with every other sector which is included here. So it must be the economics department possibly is not collecting the information in a very leisurely manner which they are doing. This is not acceptable for the society. It is not available, it's not acceptable. So you have to change. That is step number one. It must be done. Unless with all the facility that we have on collecting the information, the data input, output, and there's nothing is lacking, not able to do that is something very strange. It has to be done. That is number one. Number two, when we say the CRIM audit is not only quantitative. What we see is only the quantitative information. CRIM looks at corporate governance, risk management, accounting quality, and management quality. This qualitative information is very much lacking. Let me give one of the reports that came in 2012 from United Nations on happiness, which is supposed to be towards a common development program before all these 17 SDGs came into existence. But I think UNGC came in 2011, so they might have been warned about what are the UNGC is a good one actually. When we have that sort of a report that came, Louis Coyantes, he made a mention is weird about the happiness indexes being prepared. He said weird in the sense Western, educated, industrialized, rich democracies. These were the only one for whom that happiness index had been prepared, which is not of those 156 countries. Again, the same thing even today in 2020, if you go through the global survey of happiness index or well-being index, it must change. When we talk of the quality, I am jumping the thing from accounting quality and management quality to the essential denominator of the people. If somebody has to reach that level of $1.5 trillion, overcoming the hiatus period now we say is going to update as on today. And going towards that is the happiness index of 60 million people. The working force is about say 20% or 25% or that sort of a thing. The working force of each and every sector, they say, is about 25%, about 15 million people are working workforce, which includes everything that is being given in these statistics. They are the denominators. They are the achievers. They have to accomplish it. If they have to accomplish it, as my good friend Bhavesh says, the spirituality aspect is, as he keeps on telling, as we have done in the Amul milk collection, he also adds Morbi, where we have the tiles, and a great wealth had been developed, and the individuals are not highly, they are not even educated. They are but 10th standard and 12th standard, and they have per capita, the wealth that they have created is possibly the biggest in this country, in India. So don't ignore that active, interested, spiritual people of, assuming that 15 million people are the workforce, they have to be brought into focus as the denominator. Identify that, for which this particular report, GCHW, I think, the Wealth and Global Council for well-being. The 5 criteria that they have put, which I have included in my book, are health, education, work, personal happiness, and cities. These are the 5 areas which this particular well-being aspects have been brought in. Spirituality is the one of a major force for people like Bhavesh to go and talk to the several 15 million people who are the workforce, and which extends to about all the 60 million people of the state of Gujarat. So these 5 you got to integrate with GSDP. Get my point? These are, I have already included in my book as to the these health and this thing. So when the denominator is this 15 million, assuming 15 million, could be more, it could be less. We are arriving at the farmers. I have indicated in my blueprint for 1 trillion Indian agriculture economy. The 13 million farmers are going to be rated. The rating is being done. Similarly, each and 15 million people of the Gujarat state workforce will be rated. When you rate the quantitative elements, integrate with the qualitative elements, what they are getting in health and education and work, personal happiness, and the cities. What sort of cities are they getting? Is a city, we got to have it so that the happiness index is going to be more important than the quantitative elements of governance. So these 2 will be the step 1, CRIM audit. CRIM audit will come and establish before 2021, March 2021, as to the integration of GSDP. It could be 200 billion, could be 250 billion. There is no jumping back to the future, like going back to 2018 and projecting it for 2021. Should not be there. It has to be done on an emergency basis. This is emergency. We are delaying the things on not collating the information, giving the right information, even though it is available. Who says this? No electricity person is going to run his department without knowing what is the electricity revenue coming and who is paying, who are all not paying. They are up to date. They can't know None of the industry sector which is being mentioned here, about 15 of them, not one will be delaying that information. There is something very fundamentally wrong not to understand the impact of delayed info system, which affects Indian central government's statistics information. There's no point doing the economic survey of India if you don't know what you had that information of is 2 years old. So let us make it as my emphasis would be step one, cream audit, both quantitative as well as qualitative elements, and as well as the denominator being the workforce, in addition to the what has been prepared here as to the per capita income of the population. Population is going up 65 to 70 and 80 and all that. So let us look forward for step one. We'll get into the step one. And 2, 3, 4, 5 will come.
Step 2. Cream Strategy Plan. Recast GSDP 2020 to 2024. Prepare fresh CAGR for each sector. 1. Detailed strategy plan for each sector. 2. Overall CAGR should match the $1.5 trillion target by 2024.
To cream a strategy plan. In step one, two important factors we brought about. One is the quantitative elements, another qualitative. We brought in the qualitative elements of 5 criteria. Quantitative elements have to be updated to start this step 2. So that's very essential. Qualitative elements which we have not been doing it have to be brought in again in the plan. We normally do the planning ERP on quantitative elements. These quantitative elements are the sustainability of efficiency is very crucial for maintaining the profits and growth. But the qualitative elements are the one which is value system, comprising of the value system, are very crucial for the purpose of sustainability of profits and growth, not just maintaining. So if we have $1.5 trillion as of a target for 2024, a lot of catch-up has to be done, and that will come only with the qualitative elements, because 12 out of 170 belong to, that is earnings in the cream report. E is about 12. The balance 158 are all qualitative. The 12 is the one reflecting two products, profit and growth. The balance 158 are the raw materials part of it. The raw materials input we are not measuring. If you are in a position to measure, we will be able to scale it very nicely as to if I have doing 100 X as my turnover today, and if I want to catch up to 800 X by 2024 to catch up with the $1.5 trillion, from $200 billion to 1.5, each and every company has to look towards enhancing, multiplying our effort. When I say effort, I remember Dhirubhai Ambani's 4 dictums, which is really good. Dream big, 1.5 trillion, we are ready to dream it big. And ambitions higher. The ambition, we got to have the ambition that from 100 today, 800 2024 is my ambition. I have to do that. Commitment deeper. The commitment part of it is by each and every individual connected with the company, any organization. Commitment deeper, and the efforts greater. Efforts greater is that raw material. The raw material part of it, 158 of them, whether we take those efforts, have to be brought into the strategy plan. There are only three dictum, three laws governing our corporate entity. Number one, as I said, energy is liberated matter, I said earlier. That is what we have already showing in the balance sheet, 2012 to 2020 or 2019, whatever it is. The number two, matter is energy waiting to happen. That is between 2020 to 2024 is waiting to happen to make it to $1.5 trillion. Yes, by everybody. And then the third law is that matter and antimatter, when they collide, it forms a pure energy. That is the one return on intangible. The denominator being the intangible is the effort that we put in, which is power force, the pulsating energy force that every one of us have, which is common for a potter or a nuclear scientist, depends upon to the extent of that they have the correlation with their work. That denominator is a constant, is one for everyone. The numerator is action or inaction. So you have a binary value of 1 or 0. If action is 1, numerator, then it is 1. If it is there's no action, if there's no effort, it will be 0. So in the second law is matter, which is energy waiting to happen. That energy is the one we assess the return on intangible. If in a company with 500,000 people, or in agriculture sector is about 13 million people, in correlated to $1.5 trillion, we are looking at the action or inaction by the second law. So an index of inactivity is being created for each and every person. Well, as I said earlier, there is no separate corporate rating. It is the individual who add up to a corporate. If there are 500,000 people, there will be 500,000 rating is available. How they have put in. That one, what determines is the second law. That is, if the inaction is 0, action is optimized, each person is given that particular target of reaching the $1.5 trillion, to be done. It is very simple, at least in calculation. But what is needed is that 5 criteria we say, that we take care of each individual with regard to that 5 criteria, which is health, education, work, personal happiness, and the cities. We got to provide the cities. The city development that goes that a person does not come late to your office or wherever, or the workplace, is because of what type of a transport system that we have developed, what type of a city that we have developed. All that are being compacted into the value system of a company, of making it to the individual. Then it is like running a 100-meter dash with in Olympics, Usain Bolt, and we are all in the top. Everybody, 500,000 or 13 million farmers, they are all competing with another person who has reached or the optimized level of performance. The very healthy competition comes when you integrate these two. That's what I said, GNH and GDP have to be integrated. GDP is the one which is quantitative. GNH is the one, Gross National Happiness Index, is qualitative. It's not by survey, by individuals who are working for each company being assessed with regard to the GNH aspect of it. So together when it goes 1.5 trillion, you can keep your dream really big and ambitions equally higher, and commitment has to be deeper. That is where return on intangible, and the efforts that is being greater. You got to put the effort. It's optimized level. From 0 to 5 it goes. I will be able to tell, I mean, it is available in the book, and performing the metrics, and it is connected with universe, nature. So you have a perfect, everything is available there, calculated, is pure and simple arithmetic actually, is very simple, and the optimal level being performed by everyone. That is that strategy plan. CREAM strategy plan, CREAM for quantitative and qualitative elements of management. Thank you.
EPP, effort per person. Target GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. CAGR 41.38%.
I said about the 5 steps to Nirvana. Step 1 was CREAM audit. Step 2, CREAM strategy plan. Step 3 and 4 involves with 1. CREAM implementation and CREAM training. All the first 4 belong to a creative process. The 5th one is CREAM action plan. So once the strategy plan is ready, which must be very, very thorough, action plans becomes very simple. So $1.5 trillion to reach 1.5, the target, it is really simple if only we have the first 4 organized properly. That is a creative process. Number 2, action process. You will be surprised to know the only 2 processes are there in any company, in any management, in any organization. That is how, as I said, matter and energy. The matter and energy, either you energize the matter, liberate the matter to for pure energy, or you just keep it without doing anything about it, which I will explain in the next about 2 slides. What I have given in the book, particularly 1.5 trillion, is that EPP, effort per person. The effort per person is the one which is going to be very significant. It is a movement. Amul is a movement. Morbi is a movement. We are ordinary people. Ordinary people are the one who move the things in the proper shape and proper place. Not simply by the top-heavy executives. It is the people have to get interested in that. That's why when I said about like everyone competing with the other, like in a 100 meters dash at the Olympics, the same thing will happen in every sector. So if 11.5% is the current achievement for the last about 2012 to 18, 19, then we are looking at 41.38%. It looks very big, but it is not so when 60 million people or 15 million workforce work together to take it up. We are competing with then South Korea. It's very simple, and there's of course no participation that comes. That is the effort per person. What has been lacking is to initiate that interest among the various people, which I'm sure this my IPR, inactivity based cost management, provides with 5 principles. I'd like you to have a look at it, and then getting into the $1.5 trillion target for GSDP is a simple process.
Inactivity-based cost management. Target GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. CAGR 41.38%. Step 3. CREAM implementation.
IBCM, inactivity-based cost management. Activity has got a cost incidence. We show it in the balance sheet. Inactivity has got a cost consequence. Measure cost consequence now is the theme of that IBCM. It has got 5 principles. Principle number 1, what gets measured gets managed. Out of the 170 process blocks, which I had indicated in the CREAM report, 12 belong to quantitative elements of management. The balance 158 of qualitative elements of management, which contains from how the board of directors function, how the independent director was there, code of business principle, code of conduct, UNGC, COSO framework, conflict of interest, conflict of personal interest, conflict of conscience, insider trading. All these forming part of the 158. 12 are measured because they are quantitative. 158 are not measured, so they are not managed properly. That is principle 1. Principle number 2, how to measure qualitative elements of management. Ethics is subtler than the subtle. Ethical motive is subtler than the subtlest. What you will find from the book is a methodical, creative process, taking out of nothing where ethical motive is that, is in the space of nothingness. From there, how it proceeds in 6 stages to a quality substance. Once, that is where we are living, a 3-dimensional universe we are living. It has to be on the tangible substance of quality. Once is being created, we are in a position to identify what we are talking about. So that is principle number 2. Principle number 3 is corporate atomic structure, which I had already indicated just now. In the corporate atomic structure functions exactly same as atomic structure. You have policies, you have practices, and the people. The people belong to the society. Practices is the CEO team, and the policies headed by the board of directors. Policies and the people, that's a society, join together to form a nucleus, and CEO team spins around the nucleus. In the atomic structure, the electron spins around the nucleus at nearly 3/4 of the speed of light. So is the case with our CEO team. And they are like beaver, walks a lot and makes a lot of quick, quite a speedy guy. So that leadership should not go astray. As in the neutron, which does not change the influence, the identity of atom, the society does not change or influence the identity of the company, but it adds mass to it. When something is being added mass to a company like this, these are the things, the provisions of regulatory and even 21 metrics and 34 expanded metrics are because of the suggestion. This is what we feel. The World Economic Forum Wiseman had created these 21 core metrics and 34 expanded metrics only under the assumption that the society is going to demand certain things which we will be ready to present to them. That's how it functions. That nucleus is the stabilizing factor. When there is ethical responsibility undertaken by a company, as indicated in the CREAM rating, and then the management quality and accounting quality are the perfect. The sustainability of the value system, when it is being integrated with the board of directors, with the stakeholders, you have a CEO team that can afford to spin around that nucleus in any manner they want and go to the stratosphere if they want, because they will not go astray. This is the principle under corporate atomic structure, which also gives the benchmarking and also the metrics. Metric is 0 to 5, which you will be able to see from the book.
Inactivity-based cost management. Target GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. CAGR 41.38%. Step 4. Cream training. Principle number 4. Return on intangible.
The fourth is the return on intangible. Let me briefly tell you how it functions, how the universe functions. Image is, if you look at the claim reports, the quantitative elements of management is matter. The 158 elements of management, qualitative, they are the energy force. So that is how the universe functions. Energy is liberated matter. That is the first law. And matter is energy waiting to happen. That is the second law. That is where inactivity arises, NPA arises, and we have a lot of problem going to NCLT and various other problems. So it's a very crucial one. The third law, when matter and antimatter collide, it forms pure energy. A lot of elaborate discussion had, write-up had taken place in the book, which you kindly see, as to defining intangible. Intangible is being the pulsating energy, available only with a human being, nobody else. That pulsating energy is the denominator. Common to all is a constant, whether it's a potter or a nuclear scientist. And that intangible is the effort that one puts in. So when you put it as an equation, or I, is an equation, where action or inaction takes place in the numerator. When it's an action, it is 1. It's a binary value that we get. So every task is being assigned to 5 different people. 1 from ethical responsibility and 4 from the fiscal responsibility. When it's being assigned and they are yoked together as a team, but they work independently. One fellow may get the optimum rating of 5. 4 fellows may get it. One fellow gets only about 4. Then the team ranking is only 4 versus 24 divided by 5 gets you only about the integer being taken, and you have only 4. When a company with about 500,000 people, with 100,000 team, and everything is earmarked for the purpose of the several tasks under 170 process blocks, which may add up to another 17 SDGs, another 21 plus 34 metrics given by WEF. You have more and more of open-ended process blocks come. Then you have a more number of performance analysis being done. You have 100,000 teams, and barring one, everybody gets about the optimum level of 5. One team gets only about 4. The whole 100 corporate rating will be only 4. There is no separate corporate rating for the company. There will be a individual rating which gets added up and is the power force, how it is being done. This is the pulsating energy force, which has to push the second law, every matter that they come across, to the first law. Energy is a liberated matter. You want to liberate that matter which is sitting there as an NPA. We can't afford to do that. When we try to do that at the optimum level of performance, the inactivity is 0 at optimum. If there is 4, then inactivity is 1. So 1 upon 25 for a team. So you have the index of inactivity of 100,000 teams or 500,000 members. Each person's performance is being measured, and you have how many number of persons at the optimum level, how many persons in 4, 3, 2. The intention is each team member is being pulled up to get the optimum level of 5. Why? Because that is what they are competing with. When you have a CAGR and being converted into CDGR, daily growth rate, and being assigned every day, that is the governance as a function which is dynamic function. Every day we know who are the people who are going. They are competing with each other. It's like running a 100 meters race in Olympics. Each person performs looks at it. They are not looking at the adverse variance and keep fighting the other fellow is wrong. This is finding out who the person is the best. And that is how the return of tangible comes. Is very challenging and most interesting. It all depends upon the strategy plan that you make on the 6 stages. Once it is done, is as I said, is a linear expansion. Each person has to move the matter from one to the other. Then you have a complete performance targets being met on a daily basis. So it is not materiality, it is a material event. That material event is in the second law, the index of inactivity. That index of inactivity is a material event that gap has to be shrunk. Once the inactivity is zero and you are able to get the first law fully energizing, liberating the matter, you are through, and you will be through the stratosphere. So it is very challenging, very interesting, and that will come to stay.
Cut the Gordian knot. Target GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024. CAGR 41.38%. Step 5. CREAM Action Plan.
There are 5 principles that form the conceptualization of the book: corporate citizenship and sustainability. The last one, principle number 5, is emergent property phenomenon. This is very well described by Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann. There are 3 underlying principles under this emergent property phenomenon. Number 1, conformability of nature to herself, quoting Isaac Newton, is something amazing, really amazing, really amazing. You've got to go through that. The entire universe, where the whole even solar system is not even a speck, not even a dot. Corporate and the government are the only one that do not follow this principle, conforming themselves or nature to herself. It is so totally contrary. That's why the corporate and the government have put themselves into not 1 or 2 knots, the knots which you are not in a position to untie it. Is million times more difficult than that of the Gordian's knot. Hence, what I have been introduced in this book is corporate atomic structure. That is one. The second principle, Murray Gell-Mann says, is applicability of simplicity. What has been brought under this book, it is very difficult for any other principles to bring that sort of a simplicity. The n-dimensional functions are converted to n functions of a single dimension with a common denominator. That is 2. Number 3, Murray Gell-Mann says, unreasonable effectiveness. The unreasonable effectiveness is the art of resolving a paradox with the least number of calculations. You've got to see the opposite values. that are being analyzed in this book. So with these three principles is a summary of the first four principles of the book. So let us go further onto this, how it could be, knowledge could be passed on to you. The principle number 5, what Nobel laureate German says, you have nothing to add more to get something more. Getting more, you don't have to add anything more. It comes by what I call as a corporate yoga. In yoga, that's what we do. We are not adding anything, actually shedding off unnecessary flabby things from our body and as well as the mind. And this is a very important aspect of the corporate atomic structure and the return on intangible. There are two things which I discuss of constructing the value, which goes by CAGR, which is brought down to CDGR. That is, the cost of inaction is being removed then and there. Do not carry forward to the next day. And CARR is deconstructing the valueless. We saw that in the step number 1, where delayed information system, nearly after about 2 years, they are valueless. That has to be reduced to 0 level. That is CARR, converted into CDRR. If I have the target date of by March 2021, I have an up-to-date GSDP information system available. Then remove the valueless and add value, and construct value and deconstruct valueless. That's a theme of this corporate atomic structure, which is making it very easy. Then we have only 2. Energy is liberated matter. Do not keep the things as a matter unmoved. It is supposed to be moved. It has to be destroyed. You create a raw material, so you get the product made. What do? We literally destroy it for the purpose of going out of your company. Sell it off. That's what all the business about it. It gets consumed or used. And that is a very principle. We keep on doing billion times to do that. Same thing again and again. And that is what utilization of the assets, physical assets. And to make it happen, we got to have the ethical assets being brought about. That depends, as we discussed, these 5 GCHW, that is health, education, work, personal happiness, and cities. It is the part of the government. Government has to be, we are talking about 60 million people. We are talking about 15 million workforce. These are the aids that help the corporate sector and other organizations that they produce, agriculture or any of those areas. Then the enthusiasm comes, and with the return on intangible equation, we are in a position to inculcate a self-discipline going towards a self-governance. If we knock off the disparity between the highest paid and the lowest paid in an organization, what remains is the ethical responsibility between the two, and they stand equal. And that is the one which is going for a self-governance. Return on intangible is going to help definitely on that. Then we are talking of the Nirvana. If these 3 are being introduced, we are talking about GDP and GNH being integrated, and we are infusing certain enthusiasm in the workforce of 15 million people only for this GSDP. We are in a position to go for something beyond. That is The freedom from poverty, freedom from disease, freedom from various human rights problem, labor rights problem, environmental rights problems, or corruption problems. All of them, we are freed from all those areas, and Gujarat is the best state for a simple reason. From the inception, they are the only one who had come out with the prohibition and stuck with it. No other state in India has that social impact. Now they are all suffering. Take West Bengal, take Tamil Nadu in particular. They are dependent on the liquor sale, Tamil Nadu in particular. This is dangerous, and as far as Gujarat is concerned, they are very lucky. Finally, if you look at the implementation program and training program, which I feel is very simple, the action plan is very simple. Again, you don't have to add anything more to get something more. I like that Nobel laureate Ray Chalmers talk. Today, 200 billion to 1.5 trillion as far as Gujarat is concerned. 200 billion is what Bangladesh is. If they adopt this methodology, which I am providing you with, they can also get 1.5 trillion. If today we are comparing with reaching 2024 what South Korea does. South Korea also the same thing. Today is 1.5 trillion. If they adopt this methodology, they can reach $15 trillion by 2024. Because that self-discipline and the self-governance brings about an openness, a nirvana from the big managers, CEOs, VPs, a burden of carrying something which they don't have to. It is a freedom for them, actually, rather than other people. Then everything will grow very well. That's about it. And let us see whether I can help Bhavesh Patel for taking it up further. I'm only an instrument for change. It's up to the others to accept or not accept. Thank you very much.
Please see description for details of presentations and availability of book for sale. Based on the book, different concepts. 1. The new global brand name, corporate citizen. 2. Blueprint for $1 trillion Indian agri-economy. 3. Project Elite for knowledge transfer. 4. WEF report, measuring stakeholder capitalism, a step towards corporate civilization. And now 5. GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024, a template for GDP GNH